Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. My name's Dualta Doherty, and in this podcast series, I will be speaking to investors, advisors, entrepreneurs, and recruiters who are based all over the world, and we will be discussing how to set up, scale, and operate a world-class recruitment company. Now, today I am speaking to Gary Rushton. He is an industry veteran at this stage. He's been working for Oliver James all around the world for 12 years. So he started out in Manchester and then he went to Hong Kong and helped set up and scale their office there, had some children, and then moved back to London. And we had a great chat about recruitment, his career, and the type of things that make people successful and what it's like now compared to when he started, and how they use analytics and data to help prepare their recruiters for success. And it's all really down to owning a niche. And we went into some of that. So real entertaining guest and really enjoyed speaking to him. Hope you do too. And if you do, reach out and let me know. Over to Gary. Gary Rushton, how are you?
Dualta, I'm very well, sir. I'm very well. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting there. I'm a very busy man. You're very important these days.
No problem at all. No problem at all. How's today been for you?
Today's not too bad. I'm struggling to get going. I've given up my office. I'm in between. I'm using the upstairs office in the house, and I'm waiting to get into a co-working space. So what that means is my wife tends to hand me too many duties to do. And I'm not getting enough stuff done. And then I'm getting dragged to every corner of the world dealing with recruiters. So it's been a morning, but hey, I'm not based in London trying to take over the place. Talk to me about your day. What are you up to today?
It's a good day. It's a good day. Today actually is quite unique in a sense that we're doing sounds a little bit corny, but we're doing a Valentine's sales day. So we just try and inject a little bit of fun into our day from time to time, and I guess try and drive a message. What we're trying to achieve over the course of the next couple of quarters, which always come back to output and performance. But the guys have all embraced it. I think I've gone a little bit far actually. So we've decked out the office with just horrific Valentine paraphernalia. It looks like hallmarks vomited in the office, and then we've asked the guys to wear something red, and they've all been pretty sensible in the most part. Red socks, red tie, red top. Apart from myself, who's managed to pull out a red crushed velvet smoking jacket, what I once wore as Hugh Hefner at a fancy dress party.
Ooh.
I know. We I think I've already had 2 missed calls from HR.
Oh, lovely. And what's on offer for the winners?
Good question. Yeah, so we split them into teams, and ultimately not the teams that they're usually in. So we give responsibility to people during the day who are not managers at the moment, but have aspirations to be managers. So they get exposure to motivating, planning, organizing for a team, which is really good. So we mix the teams up. The winner of the day, the team will go out to a team activity and all expenses paid dinner. And then there's individual winners.
With you and your Hugh Hefner.
That's optional. Unfortunately, I very rarely get to go.
So Gary, you're a long-serving soldier in the recruitment industry. You've been there for what, 12 years?
Yeah, indeed. Yes, 12 years.
Working for Oliver James.
It's pretty much to the day, actually, coincidentally. So Yeah, a long-serving soldier. Ouch. But
So,
yeah.
so you got in. Was it fresh out of uni that you went in?
No. I actually started my career in engineering. So I I guess I wanted money straight away out of education. So I was working in the aircraft engineering space. It sounds more much more glorified than it is, but it was really good because it was good money at the age of 21, and it was relatively stimulating. But no, I mean it was a case where I got to my late 20s. I was still in the industry, and um, I was looking around me, and I realized that there were 60-year-olds, guys and girls doing exactly the same and earning the same as I was at that age. So it was, yeah, I just I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to make a change. Um, so yeah, I got into recruitment when I was in my late 20s.
Me too. Do you get a point to prove? Did you?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I felt that yeah, I very much delayed my career in a certain way, but I guess it was just born out of I just realised that the sort of lifestyle I wanted, and I guess the professional challenges, I wasn't ever going to get them in that role. So um, it was by sheer chance. I know this. Everybody says this, but I didn't fall into it, so to speak. When I first someone explained it to me, I was so excited about the potential to earn the money you could, and the pace that the industry was growing. So I had a chance meeting with James Rogers, who's the founder of Oliver James, or co-founder, and that was through a friend of a friend. And I just got speaking to him and knowing a little bit more socially. He's an Aston Villa fan, actually, and I was a Manchester United season ticket holder at the time when
I was going to ask you, are you from Manchester?
Yes, yeah, I'm from Manchester originally. Yes, so I yeah, born and bred in Manchester, and left there at the age of 35 when I moved to Hong Kong with Oliver James.
So when you started out in recruitment, was that in Manchester or was it in London?
It was Manchester. Yes. So I joined Oliver James, and I think we were just a Manchester-based business. I actually think it was on the cusp where we just opened a London office by one of the other group board directors, Nick Godson, and I think there was him and maybe another person in London. So started in Manchester. There was about 7 people in the Manchester office. It was my first introduction to the sort of corporate office life, and yeah, I sort of, when I think back, I look through my fingers. It was almost to a degree where if the phone went, I was picking up the keyboard. It was pretty embarrassing.
So you were in the first 7 really in the office. So the owners, they were still probably sitting beside you. Were they on the phone? Were they billing at the time?
Were they built? No, they were. They were more involved in the growth of the desk rather than the hands-on billing at that stage. But played a very hands-on and integral part of everyone's development at that stage. To be honest,
so they must have known that they were going to scale from a very early stage. Because any type of company that I'm just going to be a boutique. The owners tend to spend their whole time trying to build and then hire, and they don't really get up to a certain level. Was that plan made clear to you when you were starting at an early stage?
Massively. It was, the whole culture was around every individual within the business to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And there's always been a huge amount of investment into the business, to the detriment of probably James and Oliver's personal financial gain. But it was because we had this we had this confidence and still unwavering confidence in terms of the methodology. and our approach to continue to grow the business. So there's always that return on investment. So yeah,
what was it about the methodology that bred the confidence that it did? What in particular?
It was a real investment into fully understanding your market, and an investment into being able to do that. So how we've always structured the business, how they structured it then, we'd put a huge amount of research and understanding into a particular vertical market. So an accountancy area, risk management area, change management, technology, whatever it may be, and look at that vertical market within an industry. And we would have support staff, we would have data inputters. It's now far more sophisticated. We have a data analytics team, and they will scour all means necessary to get a full visibility of the individuals in that vertical. And so we've got a really good understanding of a finite number of people. And from there, all that information is on our database. It's clear, it's set out in terms of the individual's name, what company they're in, the job title, job category, and at the very least, a switchboard number, but more often than not, we would have a mobile and a direct line, and we would go out and we would fully map that market. We would be interacting with any individual in that finite number of people, because we know whether it's today, tomorrow, 6, 12 months down the line, they're going to be useful to us. So that's what I bought into. There was a very clear strategy, and it wasn't about spot placements. It was about monopolizing markets. And I could see within that, people who embraced that platform and methodology, they were making some eye-watering money. And not only that, because they had visibility of the whole market, they could start making pure business decisions in terms of how many people should actually be working that area, and understanding the volume, it's sustainable growth. So it was very infectious at an early stage, but my goodness, it probably took me about 18 months until the penny dropped. I sort of linked up the dots and went, oh right, I see, rather than just
so talk about 18 months for you to get really good at it, did it?
Yeah, to be the go-to person in my vertical, for sure. We did respectable numbers before then, but just being in a position to fully appreciate the medium-term objectives that you're doing, in terms of mapping out and understands having visibility of people's hiring managers, those kind of things.
What I find interesting with your background is, and I don't get to do this often, is you've done 12 years at one firm. You've never worked for another firm. So your impression and the way you view the world in recruitment is through the eyes of Oliver James. So there's no color coming from other experiences. So when you started out, what was the thing that really made the top performers in the room? And if you look at the room now, and has that changed with the advent of technology and analytics and just a generational change? Like if you could just bring yourself back to, I'm sure the room was noisier then. More people were on the phone more and stuff. What have you noticed?
Well, one thing I've noticed is that it's not, it isn't any particular personality, background, type of individual per se. It's from every top bill I've seen in this organization, whether I've they've directly reported into myself or I've seen within the business, it's more about their attributes. It's I guess 3 key things for me are individuals who are commercial. So what I mean by that is that they're constantly questioning each action or every action that they do. Is this part of the bigger vision? Is this leading us to the bigger vision of our team? and where we want to be, i.e. monopolizing a market. Is this the best use of my time at the moment to achieve my short-term, medium-term and long-term objectives? So commercial individuals, so important. I think secondly, drive. My goodness, and we're all very aware of the challenges that this profession can bring on a day-to-day basis. So you've got to have that innate attribute within you, and then finally, organization. I think organization is so key, because I've never met a lazy recruiter. Genuinely, in our business, they can be busy all day, every day, because you've got you're qualifying a job, you're headhunting, you're arranging interviews, you're going to a client meeting, you're uploading a CV. 8 hours, 9, it can go like that. So it's that organization is really, really important.
Whenever you're interviewing people, are you able to identify those 3 things through your process? It's kind of tricky, isn't it? Like, I mean, because the commercial piece is hard, because people can kind of bluff you, to a large extent. The organizational piece, it's tough until they're in there and you see how they're actually doing it. Is there any wee traits that you look for when you go, right, this person's right for us? We can get them up through the ladder.
Yeah, well, they very rarely have all 3. That's for sure. But I guess what I'm trying to look for is if they're currently in the industry, what things are they implementing on a day-to-day level to improve their way they're operating, rather than just following the norm and what they're doing what they've told to do, or what they've done in the past. I'm ideally looking for people who can demonstrate that they've implemented new processes or initiatives. That's really important for me. I think equally though as well.
Sometimes if they can be too creative, though, they cannot follow the process that exists, right? That can be a challenge too. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in recruitment and good recruiters, there's mavericks in us all. But I think I would rather have that than somebody who's as I say, just doing a sort of transactional step-by-step process. Yeah. I guess an important trait that I look for that is not necessarily bringing out the commerciality, organization, and drive, but I really look at people to see if they are humble in a sense. And what I mean by that is that they're coming into this organization with an open mind. They're open to new ideas. They're open to suggest new ideas, because some of the greatest changes that I've made in my business are from an associate walking into our organization, looking at all these amazing platforms, technology, support functions that we have, and go, this is great, but have you thought of maybe changing this like this? And so just having that
adaptability.
Just an open mind, wanting to learn. We want people who are very open to change and innovation, because this organization, never mind 16 years, this organization is unrecognizable now from what it was 5 years ago, and heaven knows what it's going to be like in the next 3 to 5 years as well.
So tell me about your trip to Asia. You were there for what, over 3 years?
I was there for about 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
What brought that on, and what was your life like there?
Money.
Were you single at the time?
No,
what was your
listen,
deal?
I wish I was, but no, my wife might listen to this. No,
big fan of the podcast, is she?
Well, to be honest, to give a little bit of colour to that. Sorry, what happened is,
I think you just get plenty of colour.
What happened was that I was with my girlfriend at the time for around about 18 months, so very early on in my career, and this opportunity came up. We actually went over to Hong Kong, set up with a fellow director, the amazing Johnny Plews, who's the MD of Asia over there. But I went with my girlfriend of 18 months, went to set up a business. We decided, my girlfriend and I, to go and explore Asia, have a load of fun. Obviously, Hong Kong's a dynamic, amazing place. And fell pregnant on our first trip to Southeast Asia. So things changed a little bit. So I was, young children or one on the way and a business. But again,
she sabotaged you there. She definitely, like, that's no accident there. She's off.
I think they say
that the exact same thing happened to me. I had that digital nomad life all planned out. I was driving through Europe. I was drinking port wine and Porto, and was going down to Spain.
Wow!
I had it all mapped out, and as soon as I arrived in Spain, she said, "I need to move home and have a child." Just when I thought it. So sorry, I digressed a little bit.
No.
So you and Johnny set up from scratch in Hong Kong. That must have been a big responsibility for you guys. How did you manage to get a UK-centric recruitment firm going in what is a very Asian-oriented market? Like how did you adapt? How did you manage to bring in locals? What was all that like at the very start? Because I'm sure it's a wee bit easier now because there's more people doing it and it's a bit more familiar. But there must have been some challenges early on there, right?
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. I think, just going back to your original question as well. Sorry. So how did we end up going to Hong Kong? Well, at the time of around about mid 2019, 2009, back end of 2009, we were around about a 60-man business, but we were purely a UK business. And the obvious next step for our expansion was overseas. And we identified Asia as a very attractive market. One, because of the growth and how underdeveloped it was. And a lot of our financial services clients had their Asia hub based in Hong Kong. So it was a really, really exciting market for us. And it was our first overseas office. So Johnny and I, we were the guinea pigs, really. Obviously, you fast forward today,
Who was Batman and who was Robin?
He was Batman. I would say I was Robin. Yes, I think Johnny Please would love to be the Batman. I'll give him that. Give him that mantle.
He sounds like James Bond.
Well, in what sense? Sorry.
He just has that, like, I don't know. He just has that nice voice. I can't describe it. I've never met him.
I really.
But he's a very well spoken guy.
Yeah, indeed. He's a little bit more like Johnny English, actually. But so we were the guinea pigs anyway, and I guess again, going back to those early days of the investment and the unwavering confidence of where we can get this business, we put a huge amount of investment into Hong Kong before we even got there. So what I mean by that is that the resource that was plugged in, we incubated the Hong Kong business in Manchester for about 12, 14 months. And we had all that data team that I spoke about. They were mapping the whole markets or the verticals that we want to operate in. So we understood where all the decision makers were. We understood where a large portion of the technical candidates were in, so that when we went to Hong Kong, and we were going in front of CEOs and CFOs of these global financial institutions, we could actually we could actually deliver on our proposal.
Can I jump in for the question there?
Yeah.
The data team that you have now, does it have the capabilities that if you say, I want to do actuary recruitment and we want to do it in Brazil, we're gonna hire a Portuguese speaker to get it going. I want you to get 50 clients and get all their details into the system and get 1,000 candidates and code them up and put them all into the system before they arrive. Can that type of thing be done now before you go?
100%. That's what. Yes, yeah. It happens on before we embark on a desk. If it's in the UK, a country, whatever it may be, that support function. There's a team of data. We used to have students on there, gap year students, whatever. Now we have professional data analytics team, and all this team does all day, every day is about 16 people in our Manchester office, a support function, and they just scrape the internet, company websites, institutes, societies, various forms, social media platforms of every relevant person within that market, and they will transfer that information onto our CRM, where we can organize it all, visualize it. Obviously, there's still the tough part of commercially connecting with those individuals, but it frees up the time of the front office, us as recruiters, to actually do the things that we do well and we're best at.
Do you know, I had a really amazing guest on yesterday, Adam Gordon. I don't know if you've ever come across him.
It rings a bell.
He's the CEO of Candidate ID. So they're a talent pipelining company.
Yeah.
And the topic that we kind of got to was, should your next hire be a piece of software instead of like a bum on the seat, for a better word for recruiter?
Indeed.
And what you've just said is really interesting. So that does a lot of the heavy lifting on that. What his product then does is it tracks through, so you work with your marketing team to get the content to approach those people, and then it tracks their consumer behavior throughout their buying life cycle, or whatever you call it.
Yes.
And enables then your recruiters then will get a message going, you should call him right now, you should call him tomorrow, remember to call him right now, because they'll be online looking at your article or jump onto your website, or they might have and that cookie will follow them. I thought that was really interesting. Hey?
Yeah, indeed. And we're looking at things like that all the time as an organization as well. It's again part of this investment. I think something like about over £2 million over the last couple of years we spent on our support function. So we have a floor in Manchester now. It's probably maybe our third or fourth biggest business of the group. It's a separate floor of support staff. And within this, we have our own in-house developers. We have the data analytics team. We have a load of really smart tech project managers that are constantly looking at the innovation and technology and how we can be at the forefront of that. It's so important. It's so important. It's a message that I convey to anybody sitting in front of me considering joining our business, because especially here in London, because gone are the days when a client is going to pay you a fee for sending them candidates from LinkedIn InMail or a job board. It's not going to happen. So we have to be far more sophisticated and smart of how we are enticing the top percentile candidates in our market. So that technology is really, really important to us.
Yeah, and as Adam was describing yesterday, it's about, like, so say if you're running a desk and there's 2,000 good candidates in your, like, they're your A grade candidates that you want to be dealing with and moving. So it's all about not restarting a search every time a job comes up, but working with those people in the background, the software working with those people to make sure that whenever a job does come up, you always have your 10 people that you know you can go at this time, or if you have somebody that comes up, you can then proactively bring them out. And I just thought that would be so much better than when I was in an agency when I started in an agency 8 years ago, you know?
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's, as I say, it's a really strong, it's how I'm differentiating Oliver James in this, hugely competitive / saturated London recruitment market. There's not many companies that have this kind of software and technology within the business. And our CRM, I spoke about our CRM. We break down the demographic of our markets in the way that you're explaining, so that we, the most appropriate, best relevant available individuals come to our search at the top of the search first and foremost, and then it filters down into obviously a broader coverage of the market where we're constantly mapping and developing. But yeah, we want to be in gone are the days where we're asking our consultants to call 300-400 people a day and like, hey, something's going to stick. We're actually saying no. With the software that we have, that you're able to pull out the most relevant 50-60 people, and instead of working 1 or 2 roles in a week, you're working 5 or 6 roles, and then ultimately from there, we're taking very credible 200k billers, putting them in this world, and they're turning themselves into 400k or 500k billers, or over £1 million billers, which we have a number of in the business. So yeah, it's something that I'm constantly trying to simplify my explanation of to the outside world, because it's
a tough one.
Yeah,
because your target audience, the way it is in London. So they might have 18 months at one of your competitors or one of the majors, and you're trying to explain a holistic approach to recruitment to them, when maybe a lot of that might go over their head. And I don't want this to sound wrong, but that when you're starting out, it's hard to get a grasp of all the different things that are going on and how technology can benefit you as a biller. So it's
I agree. I agree.
The delivery of that's tough, hey?
Indeed. Because of course, we the best people that we have in this organization, as I say, are very autonomous, and they take this platform and use it, use what parts is best for them. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a robotic process, but to have someone, from the outside looking in, it's sometimes difficult for them to truly appreciate, how that would benefit them, whether that would be directly in their pocket or the speed of their career progression.
Let me jump back into Asia if I can.
Please.
How did you manage to keep the missus there with young children?
How do you manage to do that? I have an amazing wife.
Yeah. Was it apartment living? It must have been, right?
Yeah, and it was hugely exciting. I am really lucky that my wife has that adventurous spirit herself.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's stressful. You feel outside of your comfort zone. But how did we do it? Well, the beautiful thing about Hong Kong as well is that although you're in this metropolis where you feel, everyone's on top of each other, it's claustrophobic. But an hour and a half away, you can be in paradise. You can be in Vietnam. You could be in Thailand. So the lifestyle is very different. And you could nip over. You could nip over to Thailand or Vietnam over a weekend, decompress, and go back to Hong Kong. And the weather's gorgeous. The cultural side is absolutely fascinating. Just going back to the initial time we spent in Hong Kong, it was quite funny. Johnny and I went over there, and you mentioned before about adapting.
Yeah, sorry, we kind of fell off that question.
It was me. I got off on a tangent.
I think I did too.
But we were talking about how we make that UK recruitment model a success in somewhere like Asia. And Johnny and I went very open-minded. We wasn't arrogant in any sense in terms of we do it like we've always done it, but nothing prepares you to go into that market for the first time. Because an example, Johnny and I was going to all these meetings. We were presenting our proposition and capabilities, and every meeting went absolutely swimmingly. This was the first 1 or 2 months, and we're going, yes, that's fantastic. We want to work together. Great. And Johnny and I are calling James and Oliver up going, oh my God, we need more people. We need more people. We're going to, we were looking at a retirement in 2 or 3 years. Little did we know at the time, the intricacies of the Asian culture is that they find it very rude to say no to your face. So our transactional world in the UK and moving to Asia, the phone didn't ring for about 6 months. We were going, what is going on here? But it's the thing about it there, and what bode as well, again, comes back to the investment, the constant investment this company makes. And, it was a tough couple of years that we were out there, 18 months, but we believed in what we were doing and we believed that it would be successful. And in Asia, it's not transactional. It's not supply and demand. It's actually very, very relationship based. It's a case where you will only be considered if you've been recommended by someone in the circle of trust, so to speak. And to do that, you need a very strong brand. People need to be confident about your business and capabilities to recommend you. But once you're in, my goodness, it opens up and you get access like you would never believe. If you've only worked in the UK, for instance, we were in front of, as I say, CEOs, CFOs, talking about their whole APAC regional recruitment strategy. And I'm incredibly proud of what we did there in Hong Kong. And that is an amazing business. It's actually one of the jewels in the OJ crown. There's around about 50 people now in Hong Kong. We've got around about 10 people in Singapore. Both of those offices will double over the course of the next 18 months. And I guess what I'm so proud of as well is that the first people we hired in Hong Kong are now directors in that business. Toby Weston came in as a consultant, a researcher stroke consultant. He's now heading up our Singapore operation. Philip Chow came in as a consultant. He's now an AD within that organization, leading a large profitable team. So that's really... we talk about the growth of Oliver James. That is probably the most key thing. And I know it sounds corny, but it's people. So we've constantly invested and developed people. And a crude example, before I go off on too much of a sell, is that we have 11 offices overseas. We have 11 offices globally, 10 of those 11 offices are headed up by an ex-OJ consultant. They started out in the business as a consultant, so they've worked all the way up through the business, 10 of the 11 offices. And what that does for people coming into the organization is that the person running that business operation they work within are providing relevant and tangible advice because they know what it takes to be a top biller. They know what it takes to manage a successful team and grow a successful business. So yeah, it's key for us. It doesn't dilute the brand.
So tell me, when did Robin outgrow Batman and decide that,
Never. Listen, but Batman, never, unfortunately. We'll see. Maybe our paths will cross again one day. But I'm actually, I've actually got I'm doing a video link with the Hong Kong team tomorrow, so it'll be good to catch up with the guys.
And so you moved back to the UK. What was that like coming back after living in Asia? Was like, wow, it must have been some adjustment, hey?
Oh, very much. I mean, I was excited about coming back. It's funny actually. You'd never think that you'd appreciate the things that you do once you've been away. But I had 2 children in Hong Kong, so we came back, and one of the most overriding things from when we came back is my 5-year-old son. He turned and I live a bit of a dual life, by the way. So I'm in London in the week, and my wife and kids live up in Cheshire. We're up north, and my son turns around to me. It was probably 2 or 3 months into being back, and he says, Daddy, it's really cold in England. I said, son, I'm sorry. It's the way it is. But it was adjustment for me because I'd never physically worked in a London market. Actually, I'd always operated in the London market from Manchester, and I'd come every 3 or 4 weeks for clients, but physically being in the market and running a business in London, yeah.
And so do you have a bit of a Ray Donovan style pad in the city now, do you?
Hardly. It's pretty just functional, I'd like to say. Yeah. I'm downselling it again. My wife will be on listening to this, but it's for me what's the biggest challenge coming back to London? It's the challenges are equal, but from here and Hong Kong, they're just different. The UK market was very different from when I left it.
Well, what things changed? I know the scrap for talent is ridiculous. And as you know, like we talk a little bit about this type of stuff, and I don't do a lot in London because it's just a cesspit for direct work. Like it's horrendous.
Yes, yeah. That's the biggest challenge, and that's the biggest risk to my business, because I've just obviously gone into detail about why we're successful and the amazing platform that we can offer, but to get people is very hard. And the important thing is good people. My role's split in two as a director. Well, it's not. My role is all about people, and people split into two. It's 50%. Everybody in that office on that floor there, I support them to be the best that they can be, as successful as they can be, to grow as quickly as possible, to get them to be directors so I can do less or move on to a bigger role. And the other half is talent attraction. And genuinely, I spend 50% of my time on talent attraction, whether that will be reaching out to the market directly myself, engaging with great people such as yourself, Dualta, and obviously interviewing. So I would, on average, be interviewing 5 or 6 people a week. And it's a challenge. The talent attraction is a challenge, but you just have to adjust. You just, like I say, you change your focus and change what you spend your time on.
Yeah, I feel like you probably could communicate that message that you just did with me better. How your point of difference.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would have known that myself, and I've had a few conversations with you. It's tough but it is tough to get that across to that target market, and everybody has their own preconceptions of the market in London, and
yeah, indeed,
there's a lot of people badmouthing each other, and it's a hard one. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you in the business after 12 years?
What keeps? Well, we keep growing, we keep innovating. It's enabling me to have an amazing, lifestyle, support my family. But I genuinely, I get a buzz off supporting and developing people. But it's. I know it sounds, again, a fear being a little cheesy, but it's what I get up for in the morning. I'm a recruiter by heart. I've been reasonably successful as a recruiter, and I still want that rush of a deal. So I get that rush vicariously through everybody's deals and everybody's success. So I'm really hands-on. So that what keeps me going. I genuinely think we can be the best financial services recruitment business in London. I 100% believe that. And with amazing people that we've got here, and continually to find commercial-driven, organized people in the market, I know we'll get there. So, yeah, I love it. I love what I do.
And the overall business objection. Are you guys going to be the next Michael Page? Do you think there's an exit on the horizon of when you get to 150 people, or how does that look like from the 10,000 miles looking down?
Is there an exit? Yes. Is that confirmed yet? No, because obviously we want to position ourselves to be when that is the most valuable point, of course. But we have a plan. We're 440 people at the moment.
You're 440. Wow.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, indeed. And
what were Faden when they sold? Because they had a massive exit like a year ago.
They did, yes, they did. That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But
it is an amazing thing because your owners kind of came from that S3 dynamic, didn't they?
Indeed.
And so did Faden, so did the Frank Group, and so many of these amazing like high growth companies have successfully adapted that model.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's incredible that era, that generation. And listen, it was a different time as well.
Yeah,
I'm not taking anything away from James and Oliver. They're incredible people. But to be honest, it'd be hard to mess it up in the 90s and early noughties.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got more challenging. Do you think that talent attraction piece, do you think it's harder to get graduates to come into recruitment now? Is it viewed any different to, like, because I wouldn't be speaking to many graduates. Like, you must, what do you get off the next generation?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like how, whenever you're talking to them about entering the recruitment industry, are there other avenues that they're preferring to go down? Do they want to work in a sales environment? Like is that part of the piece of why it's harder to scale now than it was in the 90s?
No, I actually think it's the industry is more attractive now than it's ever been. I think it's recognised as a profession now more so than previously, and of course, people have graduates have more options now. In terms of the various avenues they can go down, but I still think that young people see recruitment for what it is, that you can progress in such a rapid pace, and it be the financial mobility within recruitment. There's very few industries and professions that will give a young person that. So I don't. The graduate recruitment for me is not a difficult thing.
Well, your own career is testament to why somebody should join. You joined, you moved through the ranks, you got to live internationally and set up an office. You got to come back and do that. I'm sure you're a massive shareholder, and when they get to an exit, you'll be able to retire and live in the sunshine and do whatever you want. So are a testament
right there
to the industry, and I really appreciate you coming on. And it was good to kind of get a better understanding to some of the stuff that you guys are up to from the analytics perspective and the technology. And we will hopefully catch you again next year for a catch up.
Wonderful. No, I appreciate you inviting me on, Dualta, and we'll catch up soon.
The other thing I'm doing, Gary, is I have a roundtable event happening in Brighton for some people, but it would be good if I could, if I'm hosting one in London, it would be good to get you involved.
Would love to.
All right. Talk soon, Gary. Take care.
Wonderful. Take care, Dualta. Bye now.
Couple of takeaways from that podcast, and a massive thank you to Gary for coming on. Firstly is his energy and passion for the recruitment game and the business he's in is pretty obvious, and it's quite infectious. So enjoyed speaking to him, and I do, like, he calls me up quite a bit because he's always looking to hire the best people, and I don't do a tremendous amount in London, to be honest, but we always have a great chat. So that's why I wanted to get him on the podcast. Firstly, moving abroad like he did, it's the best way to scale your career, especially if you get a shot to open up an office for somebody like he did. It proves that you could run your own business within a business, and that, you know, you're responsible with the owner's money and all the rest. And it's really earned him the right to run one of their flagship offices in London. And, you know, there's no better location to scale than in London. So enjoyed that. Enjoyed the other bit where they take ownership over a whole niche and get their data team involved to map it all out and make sure that the database is ready and clean and all that. And as I was saying to him in it, imagine what it would be like having candidate ID, what Adam Gordon was describing, having that sitting on top of their data team, and then also having a media machine to drive everybody through all the different points on that. I think that's where the future lies for this. I think it's only a matter of time before recruitment companies fully turn into media companies that also recruit. And that might sound a bit silly to some of you, but if you look on LinkedIn now, like, you'll just see shy content from the big recruitment firms, you know, like 5 tips for your resume and all this crap. What will happen is they will start cutting out as many phone-based jobs, and they'll have digital marketers, they'll have videographers, they'll be documenting all the stuff for their clients, they'll be sharing all stuff that's happening in real time, and their audience will be the people who will be looking for jobs throughout their career. And that's who the winners are going to be in the next stage of recruitment. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I see. And that's from interviewing. This is episode 101, by the way. So that's where I've come to after speaking to all the amazing people that we got to. So thanks so much for listening. That is it for today. Actually, no, it's not. I've agreed to do a late night podcast in Australia because we love Australia here. And I can't wait for that. So tune in for that. And we'll be back again tomorrow as well. So thanks so much, guys. And please do send this podcast to a recruiter. We are fastly approaching 50,000 downloads, which is way more than we thought was possible when we started. And we appreciate every last one of you. Take care. Happy hunting.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.